Alright. Good morning, everybody. We are gapping slightly lower this morning, but still inside of the range from yesterday. Kind of right around that 146.5 support level from the last few days. The earnings are starting to trickle in. Goldman reported J.P. Morgan. Things are going to start to pick up quite a bit more over the coming days. And we'll see if that changes the tone of the market at all. I don't really see any evidence that that's going to be the case, but anything is possible. Zooming in on the last few days on the SPYs. Yesterday was actually a big day for the SPYs for us. Right after the 60-cent days we were seeing the prior couple days, we actually saw about a point. At least from the pre-market low to the highs and to the close. Until the market starts moving 1.5 to 2 points a day, it's a low volatility environment. So here's our pre-market, 146.40 by 146.75 about, at a 35-cent range, with a little bit of a gap down. You can see from the close, about a half a point below there. If the market opens up and we get below this 146.40, it brings yesterday's pre-market support into play, 146.10 to 146, and if we start moving above the top of the pre-market, 146.75, brings that 147 to 147.20 range back. Remember the last couple of times when we've finally broken out of ranges, we've set up very clear resistance levels, and this is not particularly helpful, that we've had pretty nice moves, but other than that, it's been very tight. So if we get above that 147.20 and we start moving from there, then you do want to actually hold a basket of some stocks, make a SPY trade, and see if you can catch a move up to the high 147s, maybe 148 or so. Alright, let's get started with the fresh stuff. Why don't we start with Goldman, which, as everyone knows, is not a stock that I normally trade or like. This is a stock that got crushed down to below $100 a share and formed a really nice consolidation between $90 and $98, and when it finally broke above 100, started to move, and then it broke above 128 recently, and now we're on the weekly, coming into this 138 area, which I think is a tough area. Pre-market we're actually about $1.25 above there now. Let's see at 10 o'clock if we're still above 138. It's be very significant if it can close above this consolidation here. Zooming in on it, see what it's doing in the pre-market. Initial reaction was through the 138 level, and let's see if we go to the 2-minute, and you can see it topped out here around 139.25 where we are right now. Pretty severe pullback, about $1.75 or so to 137.50. Made the new high here and consolidated. It's getting a little bit complicated, but made a higher low here on this pullback to 138.50. And so let's see right on the open if it takes out this 139.50. Maybe it touches the 140. I have a feeling there's probably a bunch of orders there for right on the open. We'll see how it behaves there. But any close above this area right here, 138, is going to be very bullish and possibly lead to higher prices. The way that I would look to trade this is, I don't think the risk reward is great right up here right now. Certainly an entry between 138.5 and 138. If I saw some buying here, I might try that to make the trade up to 140. And if it took out this 137.50 here, the pullback low from this morning, would look for some sort of gap fill. And if we go to the 2-month, here's what it is. You had the break above 134.60 here. A few days of consolidation coming into earnings, and if that 137.50 fails here, that brings this 136 right back into play towards the bottom of this consolidation. So has a tendency to be whippy. It is a very strong stock. You can see the recent uptrend. I already showed you the weekly uptrend. But to me, this is a difficult area, and I think there's going to be some people coming in to sell the sucker right on right on the open, so be ready for that. Let's take a look at JPM. This was the other financial that reported. Here's where we are in the daily. Definitely not as strong of a breakout on this one, and certainly on the longer term not as strong a chart. 45.5 the last few days, last 4 days it's been supporting. 46, it looks like 46.20 or so, where it was having trouble yesterday. It actually closed a little bit above there. So here's what we're doing in the pre-market, and this one has a tendency to go up and down quite a bit in the pre-market and also on the open. But this is your area right here, I guess 46.20 to 46.10 is where it was having trouble over the last few trading days. And we're above there right now, so we want to see what it does in this area right here. Maybe it acts as a pivot and it goes higher, up to $47 a share. Or if it comes back down inside and is holding lower and even holds below 46, you can look for it to move back to the bottom of the last few days range, which is about a half point or so. Very liquid stock. I try not to overtrade it though. Alright, CIE announced a secondary. It's gapping down. I don't believe they priced it. The initial reaction is negative. 40 million shares. High volume stock. Excuse me, not a high volume stock. It does about 3 million shares a day. It's a good amount that actually already done 3.7 million shares to. Oh, that's not right, is it? I guess it is. Maybe they did actually say it. Hold on one sec. Let me just check and see if they priced it. Yeah. Okay. So they didn't price it yet, but it's done a huge amount of volume already in the pre-market. And you can see it's down about $1.80. Here's the spike in volume. So let's see what this does. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So I guess when we came in this morning, it was around 25 bucks. They tried to pop it up to 25.20, and now it's holding below 25. The interesting thing to me about this is the 40 million shares that are being sold. None of the proceeds are going to the company, so they're not raising any cash. It's really just insiders basically selling a huge chunk, and they're not a big fan of the insiders selling that many shares. So looking at the longer term, there was some support here at 25. I guess that's why it's below that level right now. Below that, you kind of have this 24, where it gapped from back here on December 5th, and that level did hold back here on the 31st. It dropped as low as 23.64 that day, but closed at 24. So there's some more downside there, and you can see overall on the weekly. Actually doesn't look that bad. It formed a nice base here at 20 and broke to the upside here. But this 24 level could come into play today. Watch the 25. Got above 25.20. Maybe it gets shaken off and can work its way back up. VRA gave bad guidance, or excuse me, raised their guidance. Normally is a light volume stock, does about 700,000 shares, I think, or so. 650. It's already in the pre-market's done about 30,000 shares. It's going to probably trade over 1 million shares today. But for more experienced traders, maybe it trades 1.5 million shares. And you can see here's the gap. Started at 25, coming off a little bit. Not enough volume to tell if this is really going to fill the gap here, but maybe right on the open we'll get an indication with some buyers or sellers. The thing is, only trades between 1 and 2 million shares today. You should be able to read fairly easily on the tape if the buyers or the sellers are in control. And if it does try to fill, the first spot that it would come to maybe is around this 23.80 or so. It's about 75 cents away from there right now. Here's the longer term. Again, in a pretty nasty downtrend on the weekly. And this raising of guidance, can this change kind of the tone for it? a change in tone for this one would be it would have to close at least above $25 a share. Above 26 to me would even be a little bit more bullish, but it's got to break out of this series of lower highs on the weekly. So keep an eye on it. I have alerts set at 25, 25 and a half, and if it gets through that area there, then it can threaten this 2760, but it's hard to say right now as the volume is quite low. Alright, I wanted to check back in with HLF. I have two alerts set in HLF. I have an alert set at 46 and an alert set at 48. Let me see if I can get a better chart here. This doesn't want to cooperate too. Here's the Here's the 4-day. Geez, these charts suck today. So anyway, yesterday it gapped up and it came inside of, it had been running up quite a bit. It ran up here. We looked at it when it got up. It was called out on the desk above 42, and that day it was quite good. Yesterday was interesting. It gapped up and then they sold off, and I think people were probably looking for it to short because it was inside of the prior day's range, and it actually closed at the high, and it's gapping up again today. So maybe some people caught the wrong way again on that one. Very high short interest, a bunch of new shorts entered, trying to follow Ackman in, and they're all getting crushed, and short interest has moved higher. I'm going to look for one more day for it to move up. If it gets up to 48, I want to see how it behaves there. The other thing, my thought is, the reason I'm going to have alerts set at 46 and 45 and a half is it isn't actually going to go up forever. And if it moves back inside of yesterday's range again, kind of what it did the day before, I think that'll be the time that it probably burns some people, especially if it's below 45 and a half. That's where I'd be looking to more aggressively short it for a move down to 43.50, and best case all the way down here to $42 a share. So this area right here catches my attention, and this is the same thing to me as Apple in the sense that they've both been very in play recently. You have to be careful. You have to think to yourself in the morning, is this stock showing me something today where I really want to be involved in? Is it trading cleanly? Is it trending? Because if you don't do that, you can very easily start to trade these stocks every single day, and they're not the same every single day. Yesterday, Apple was much better than it was the prior day, and you got to try to identify that early on. Is it breaking through key levels? Has it shown a strong drive on the open? Is it trending? And if that's the case, and the equivalent would have been a couple of days ago in HLF when it drove to 42 on the open and then it consolidated above there, that was the key level, and it trended very nicely into the close. Yesterday, it did move a lot. It went up, it went up in the morning and then went down and went up. It's not the same as a drive on the open and then a trend. Those are more interesting to me. When stock shows me the weakness on the open, consolidates, and then maybe you get another trend. A lot better than the up and down in a tight range type day. So you got to identify those things early, and the easiest way to identify that is, do you get a drive on the open through important levels? And if you do, mentally you should be much more focused on that particular stock at that particular time. As long as we're talking about Apple, here is yesterday's action with the move. The move below 500 started in the pre-market. I know some people were positioned for it. Sometimes when you're positioned well in the pre-market and you walk into something, you got to take a little step back and take your hands off the keyboard and say, wow, I'm in the money, it's below the key level, let's see what happens. I'm sure some people learned that lesson yesterday. And then today, is this going to be just an inside day where, it's messy between, 488 and 494, and if it's not moving through this range here cleanly, is it really worth it for you? Maybe it's worth it to try to catch the move back down to yesterday's support. If it comes down, fails here at 494, and then gets below 490, certainly that would be a trade that you would want to look for based on the recent weakness. But overall, is it moving through key levels cleanly? And that's going to get my attention. Facebook yesterday was a little nutty. They made some sort of announcement about some new search feature. People were anticipating that. You can see the market was confused initially. It's bad, it's good, it's bad, it's good. And eventually it trended lower and came off quite a bit. Nice call out on the desk by Shark here at this 31 area where he said it was having trouble right here. Led to a little bit over a point down move before settling in and then having some trouble at this 30.20. So two prices I got drawn here. I got this 30.50. I got this 30.20. It's touched this 30.20 a few times in the pre-market here and hasn't broken back down below. Resistance from yesterday afternoon becomes support, at least for now, in the pre-market. In this area right here, 30.50 is going to present some problems. When it did spike through there a couple of times, actually never really got above 70 cents. So this is kind of the area I would look at it, and then have an alert also for 30.70. This would be a spot I'd look for it to fail, and if it starts coming back down, takes out the 30.20, maybe you get some more downside. Here's the, actually let's go 10-day on this, and that's not going to work, so let's go to the 1 month. Here's the 1 month, here's the uptrend, it's broken. Remember last time it broke its uptrend in the 28 area, didn't come off that much, but again, it has broken it, and if it gets below 30 again today, certainly you can look for the move to 29.50. And it's a low risk stock, it's very liquid, so 50-cent moves are not that bad. And maybe in your toys you have an option, you get positioned, you're shorted from up here, it starts holding below 30, comes down to 29.50, doesn't really bounce much, and maybe walk into something bigger, you never know. I think that's all I'm going to talk about. Stay focused, be patient, and good luck.